Good evening, dear listeners, and welcome to our scary stories. I am your host, guiding you through the shadowy realms where reality intertwines with the supernatural. As you sit comfortably in the warmth of your home, imagine the lights flickering and the air turning chilly. Tonight, we bring you a chilling tale that dances on the edge of reason, where spectral whispers and unyielding courage converge in a symphony that will leave you questioning the veil between our world and the one beyond. So turn down the lights, lean in closer, and let us take you on a journey into the voices in the silence. Dr. Abigail Fletcher moved through her neat, orderly office, a well-loved sanctuary steeped in the comforting scent of leather-bound books and black tea. Natural light streamed in through tall windows, casting a warm glow on the antique mahogany desk, a myriad of diplomas hanging on the walls, and the high-backed chair where she sat, her eyes studying the young man across from her. His name was Tim, a pleasant face framed by unruly brown curls and speckled with faint freckles. His eyes were the color of storm clouds, shadowed with a weariness that made him seem older than his 22 years. His fidgeting hands twisted a piece of paper as he spoke, his voice a low murmur that blended with the steady tick-tock of the brass clock on the wall. "I can hear them, Dr. Fletcher," he said, his gaze steady. "They're always there, whispering. In the library, at the supermarket, even in my dreams." Abigail watched him, her dark eyes revealing a deep empathy. There was something about Tim's earnestness, his trembling hands, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep that tugged at her. She had seen despair before, had faced it in countless patience, but there was something uniquely haunting about Tim's torment. "And these voices," she began, her tone steady. "What do they say, Tim?" He was silent for a moment, the ticking of the clock amplifying the tension. Outside, a gust of wind stirred the autumn leaves, their rustle akin to hushed whispers echoing Tim's silent struggle. "They know things about me, Dr. Fletcher," he admitted, his voice barely audible. "My secrets, my fears, things I've never shared with anyone." The room was thick with unease, a subtle chill creeping in despite the sun's rays that bathed the room. The aroma of black tea turned heavy, suffused with an undercurrent of dread that tugged at the edges of Abigail's consciousness. Her office, once a sanctuary, now seemed to echo Tim's silent screams. She could almost hear the whispers, weaving their insidious threads through the quiet room. "I believe you, Tim," she said finally, breaking the heavy silence. "And I promise you we will figure this out together." The lines around Tim's eyes softened slightly, a flicker of hope flaring in his storm cloud gaze. As he looked at her, Abigail felt an icy shiver run down her spine, a premonition of the unseen battle she had just pledged to wage. But little did she know, the whispers in the shadows were just the beginning of a symphony about to unravel into a spine-chilling crescendo. Tim's presence brought a ripple of unsettling energy into Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office. Her usual abode of peace was disrupted by the phantom whispers that clung to his psyche. Outside, the soothing hum of city life seemed to ebb away, and a strange, oppressive silence reigned in its place. This particular afternoon had an ominous weight. The afternoon sun was obscured by gray clouds, casting an eerie light into the office. Shadows pooled in the corners of the room, and the polished mahogany of Abigail's desk seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Every sound seemed louder, sharper, the scratch of her pen against the notepad, the rustle of Tim's jacket as he shifted, and the too loud ticking of the clock. Across from her, Tim sat rigid, his eyes glazed with a distant fear. His clothes hung off him, and his skin had the pallor of sleepless nights. He spoke, and his voice was a haunted whisper, a weak candle flickering in the dark. He told her of the ceaseless voices, the whispered threats and unveiled secrets. His every word was laden with a helplessness that gripped Abigail's heart. "They won't leave me alone, Dr. Fletcher," Tim confessed, his cloudy eyes searching her face for the compassion he was met with. "I've tried everything, but they just won't stop." As he spoke, his hands moved, tracing a well-worn path of anxiety. His fingers tore at the paper he held, leaving tiny fragments that fluttered onto the plush carpet, like ghostly echoes of his fracturing sanity. The harsh reality of Tim's condition weighed heavy in the room, pressing against the walls, muffling the far-off sounds of life outside. The scent of old books seemed to sour in the air, turning the once comforting smell into an almost metallic tang. Abigail watched him. This was a struggle she could not fathom, a relentless torment that she had never encountered in her years of psychiatry. His desperation was a tangible thing in the room, coiling in the air, filling the silence between his words. As she looked at the distressed young man before her, she felt the walls of her clinical detachment begin to crumble. "We'll try again, Tim. We'll explore other solutions," she said, her voice firm yet gentle. She looked at him, her gaze unflinching, willing him to find solace in her words. Tim looked at her, a ghost of hope lighting his weary eyes. A silence stretched between them, a promise of a fight against the unseen had been agreed to. It was a battle that was far from ordinary, a reality that was hard to digest. Little did Dr. Fletcher know, it was only the beginning. The shadows of Tim's torment were starting to bleed into her world, and the once benign whispers were turning into a discordant symphony that would challenge everything she knew to be true. In the stillness of Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office, the gentle hum of a newly purchased recording device stirred the quiet. Its tiny red light was the only defiant glow in the dimly lit room, a beacon of hope against the unsettling darkness that Tim had brought with him. The shadows seemed to shudder around the device, as if aware of its purpose. Across the room, the grandfather clock chimed, filling the room with an eerie melody. The scent of old novels and textbooks filled the air, clashing with the sterile tang of technology that the device brought. The atmosphere was electric, as if the room was holding its breath in anticipation. Tim sat rigidly, his eyes flickering between Dr. Fletcher and the device. His knuckles were white where he gripped the arms of the chair, the only visible sign of his trepidation. A low buzz of the recording device echoed the anxiety that gripped him, amplifying it into an almost physical presence. "I'm here, Tim," Abigail said, her voice soft yet solid as bedrock. She watched him, her gaze steady and comforting. She pressed the record button on the device, her fingers brushing against the cool metal surface, leaving an imprint of her resolve. As the device whirred to life, the silence was broken by Tim's halting voice. It carried the weight of countless sleepless nights, the echo of phantom whispers that haunted him. He spoke of the voices, his words painting a grim landscape of relentless torment. His voice was a mournful melody against the steady hum of the recording device, a testament to his unseen suffering. In the eerie quiet of the room, each word spoken seemed to hang heavy in the air, distorting the usual tranquility into a chilling orchestra of quiet dread. The outside world seemed distant, sounds muffled as if submerged underwater. The rustle of leaves against the window pane sounded like 1,000 hushed whispers, a chilling mimicry of Tim's silent plight. "I hear them. Everywhere, Dr. Fletcher." Tim's voice trembled, the terror of his experience evident in his tone. His cloudy gaze bore into the recording device, as if he could challenge the disembodied voices trapped within it. When the session ended, the abrupt silence felt almost suffocating. Tim's words hung in the air like apparitions, his fear seeping into the carpet, the walls, and the once comforting scent of old books. The small red light of the recorder blinked off, plunging the room back into a haunting twilight. Dr. Fletcher looked at Tim, his haunted eyes reflecting the red glow of the device. She felt a cold shiver run down her spine. What was once a haven of therapy was transforming into a stage for a symphony of horrors. She could only hope that the recordings would help bring an end to this discordant tune. Little did she know that the whispers were now locked in the very room with them, waiting for the chance to be heard. Late into the night, Dr. Abigail Fletcher sat alone in her office, the dark silhouette of the city skyline serving as a stark backdrop against her shadowed figure. The city sounds, once vibrant, were now muted whispers compared to the loud silence in her office. An untouched cup of black tea sat on her desk, the comforting scent mingling with the cold aroma of the late-night air filtering in from the slightly ajar window. Resting on her desk was the recording device, the tiny red light no longer blinking, its metallic surface reflecting the pale glow of the solitary desk lamp. It was an unassuming thing, yet it held within it echoes of an unseen nightmare that gripped a young man's soul. With a sense of trepidation, Abigail reached out to play the recorded session. Her fingers felt unusually cold against the device's smooth surface, and a shiver of anticipation ran through her as she pressed the play button. The device came alive with a low hum, amplifying the chilling silence of the room. Tim's voice filtered through, filling the office with the echoes of his torment. Abigail listened, her heart echoing the rhythm of the words as the haunting reality of Tim's world unfolded in the quiet room. As she listened, she became aware of something else, a soft undercurrent beneath Tim's voice. The room seemed to close in around her, the scent of black tea growing bitter as the hushed, indistinct whispers grew louder, more insistent. Cold fear gripped her as she realized that she was hearing the disembodied voices that Tim spoke of. The voices wrapped around her like an icy shroud, their whispered threats and unveiled secrets twisting in the air, turning the once comforting scent of her office into a chilling atmosphere of dread. The whispers slipped from the device like ghostly tendrils, crawling along the mahogany desk, slithering across the plush carpet, and curling around her. They echoed through the room, their murmurs bouncing off the diplomas on the walls, their secrets seeping into the antique clock, their malice absorbed by the leather-bound books. As she sat there, surrounded by the spectral whispers, Abigail could only watch as her sanctuary was transformed into a haunting symphony of dread. The whispers were no longer trapped within the confines of the device. They had now seeped into her world, bringing with them a chilling reality that threatened to unravel everything she knew. Abigail was left with the echoes of the unheard, her heart beating in sync with the whispering voices that resonated in the room. The safe space she counseled so many patients in was now tainted by something purely evil. The following morning brought a disconcerting silence to Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office. The early sunlight seemed to slither hesitantly through the tall windows, casting long, sinister shadows that danced and twisted on the walls. A pervading chill hung in the air, transforming the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee into a sharp, bitter scent that pricked at her senses. Seated at her mahogany desk, Abigail replayed the recordings from the previous night, her heart pounding an anxious rhythm. The whispers were there, just as she had heard, their eerie undercurrent unmistakable. Their spectral tendrils seemed to crawl out from the speakers of the device, chilling her to the bone. As she strained her ears to catch each disturbing utterance, she made notes, her handwriting a jagged reflection of her rising fear. Each whisper, each hidden secret unveiled, threatened to shatter her understanding of reality. Tim's torment was not born out of psychosis, but of an unseen, unexplained terror. She felt a cold dread pool in her stomach. There were no textbooks that explained this, no case studies or therapies to guide her. As she contemplated the chilling whispers, she realized that they bore a frightening awareness of Tim, his life, and his fears. They were voices from the shadows, voices without form but with chilling intent. Behind her, the clock on the wall ticked on, each passing second a mocking reminder of the horrifying truth she had stumbled upon. The voices weren't just haunting Tim anymore. They had spilled into her world, an ethereal chorus of malevolence that filled her office with icy fear. With each passing moment, Abigail felt her clinical detachment being replaced by a creeping dread. Her haven was now a stage for this bizarre symphony, its movements conducted by unseen maestros that reveled in terror. Despite the fear, however, a flicker of determination sparked within her. She looked at the recording device, its unblinking red light a taunting challenge. She was no longer just a psychiatrist. She had become an unwitting participant in this horrifying mystery. Daylight turned into evening as Dr. Abigail Fletcher immersed herself in research, sifting through ancient texts and obscure online forums. She searched for something, anything that could explain the eerie whispers. Her office, once a beacon of therapeutic wisdom, was now littered with books about the paranormal and unexplained phenomena. The fading light painted her office in hues of melancholy blues and purples, wrapping the room in a spectral shroud. The low hum of her laptop was a harsh contrast against the faint whispers from the recording, a haunting soundtrack that punctuated her search. Beside her, the recording device sat ominously, its red light glowing like a baleful eye. Every now and then, Abigail found herself reaching out to play the eerie whispers, each replay bringing a new revelation, a new secret torn from the unseen world that was tormenting Tim. As she delved deeper, she found her scientific skepticism wrestling with the chilling reality she was uncovering. Fear skated along her nerves, but it was met with a burgeoning resolve. These spectral voices, this invisible terror, was something she had to confront. Across the room, the grandfather clock struck midnight. Each chime reverberated through the room, echoing like a spectral warning. The scent of stale coffee and dusty books hung in the air, mingling with the tension that enveloped the room. Her tired eyes scanned through another article about electronic voice phenomena, her mind trying to piece together the horrifying puzzle she was presented with. Each piece was more chilling than the last, each whisper a haunting revelation of the reality she now found herself in. The hours spent researching began to blend into one, time itself becoming a blurry concept. As the spectral symphony in her office played on, the eerie whispers from the device served as a grim reminder of what she was fighting against. They filled the room, an invisible choir serenading her determination. Abigail was no longer just a spectator in Tim's torment. She was now a reluctant performer in this supernatural phenomena. And as the night wore on, she knew that she had to confront this unseen chorus, for her sake, for Tim's, and for the quiet of her once peaceful sanctuary. The dawn broke with an eerie calm, washing Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office with a hesitant light that felt too cheerful for the chilling realities she had uncovered. She welcomed Tim into the unsettling silence, her eyes meeting his in a shared understanding of the unseen terror they were both confronting. Tim seemed different, his usual fear now mingled with an inkling of hope. The air around him felt charged, the whispers from his last session echoing ominously in the back of his mind. In the soft morning glow, he looked less like a victim and more like a reluctant warrior preparing for battle. Abigail placed the recording device between them, its metallic surface gleaming in the sunlight. She pressed the record button, and the device whirred to life, the red light casting a devilish glow across the room. As Tim began to speak, the whispers stirred, their haunting melody floating through the room. Their conversation was punctuated by periods of chilling silence, as the whispers wove their spectral symphony around Tim's words. Each pause, each hushed whisper was a chilling reminder of the ghostly chorus that danced in the room. Abigail listened, her senses heightened to pick every nuanced inflection, every hint of fear in Tim's voice. She asked probing questions, trying to draw out the voices, to understand their purpose. With each answer, the spectral choir responded, their voices fluttering around the room like shadowy moths drawn to the gleaming light of the recorder. The whispers rose and fell, a chilling counterpoint to Tim's tremulous voice. Their haunting symphony filled the room, seeping into the worn leather of the office chairs, the grain of the mahogany desk, the heavy curtains that danced in the morning breeze. The scent of the room shifted subtly, the familiar aroma of parchment and coffee infused with an ethereal chill, the room taking on the spectral characteristics of the unseen chorus. Tim's words and the whispered responses intertwined, creating an atmosphere of shared apprehension and hope. As the week unfurled, a new routine settled in Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office. The hours were filled with whispered conversations and moments of chilling silence, each day a new movement in their eerie symphony with the disembodied voices. Abigail studied every whisper, every shivering note of their spectral song. She was like a musician deciphering a complex piece, searching for patterns, for meanings hidden within the discordant melody. Her office transformed into a strange stage where shadows danced to the rhythm of the spectral chorus, and fear and determination wove an intricate duet. One afternoon, with rain tapping morosely against the window panes and thunder rumbling ominously in the distance, Abigail replayed the recordings. Tim sat across from her, his face pale, his eyes reflecting a mix of fear and determination. The sound of his own voice, infused with the eerie whispers, sent shivers down his spine. Suddenly, amidst the jumble of whispers and fragments of words, a clear phrase emerged. It was an ominous threat, a promise of a crescendo in their spectral symphony. Tim gasped, his hands trembling, but his gaze remained fixed on Abigail, their shared fear solidifying their resolve. A late afternoon was turning into evening, the sky outside an ominous palette of brooding grays and purples. The room hummed with the spectral chorus, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. The smell of fear was heavy in the room, mingling with the scent of damp earth wafting in through the window. The sound of rain was a grim overture to the crescendo that awaited them, the brewing storm outside mirroring the tumultuous battle within. With the spectral voices rising, Tim and Abigail sat in her office, their resolve unyielding. Despite the fear, despite the specter of the unknown, they refused to be silenced by the ghostly choir. The storm outside raged, mirroring the emotional tempest within the confines of Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office. Lightning cracked the sky open, its furious light spilling into the room and casting grotesque shadows that danced on the walls. The scent of rain-soaked earth filled the room, adding to the electric sense of anticipation hanging heavily in the air. Seated across from Tim, Abigail felt a jolt of fear coursing through her veins, yet a bold resolve steadied her. The recording device sat between them, its red light casting an eerie glow on their faces. The spectral symphony had reached its crescendo, and the room seemed to hum with the echoes of the disembodied voices. With a deep breath, Abigail pressed the record button. The device buzzed to life, and Tim began to speak. His voice echoed through the room, intertwining with the rumbling thunder outside and the spectral voices on the recording. A chilling harmony filled the room, the atmosphere thick with the unseen and the unsaid. As Tim challenged the phantom voices, Abigail could sense a shift in the room. The oppressive heaviness began to lift, the ghostly whispers growing less powerful. These unseen tormentors were no longer dictating the rhythm. Tim was taking control of his life once again. With each assertive word from Tim, each question asked by Abigail, the haunting symphony changed. The chilling whispers lost their menacing undertone, their discordant melody growing less potent. The room no longer felt like a stage for a ghostly choir. It was reclaiming its role as a sanctuary, a safe space for healing. The transformation was subtle yet profound. The smell of fear and desperation gave way to an aroma of defiance and determination. The scent of aged books and brewing coffee overpowered the previously chilling cold, painting a picture of homely warmth against the backdrop of the raging storm outside. As the ghostly voices dwindled, a sense of victory washed over them. The morning dawned, a fresh canvas unpainted by the spectral symphony that had colored the past days with chilling shades of the unknown. The storm had passed, leaving behind clear skies and an invigorating freshness. Dr. Abigail Fletcher's office was once again a sanctuary of peace, the eerie whispers replaced by a comforting silence that echoed with their hard-fought victory. Tim arrived, a smile playing on his lips, his eyes no longer shadowed with fear. He wore his newfound peace like a badge of honor, his shoulders no longer hunched with the weight of the voices that haunted him for so long. The air around him felt lighter, the once constant hum of otherworldly whispers now a mere memory. They sat together in the office, basking in the silence. The recording device lay dormant on the desk, its red light dimmed, the spectral symphony silenced. The scent of fresh coffee, crisp parchment, and the aftermath of the rainstorm replaced the previous aura of fear. The taste of victory was sweet, a tangy contrast against the bitter memories of their spectral waltz. As they conversed in hushed tones, a soft laughter filled the room, a beautiful symphony in its own right. Their shared experiences had crafted a new melody, one that sang of courage, resilience, and triumph over the unseen. Tim's voice filled the room, no longer threaded with whispers from beyond. His words echoed the strength they had found, the fear they had conquered. Abigail listened, her heart swelling with pride. Her sanctuary was once again a place of healing, a testament to their victory over the voices from beyond. We've come to the end of this evening's chilling tale, dear listeners. Tonight, we navigated the spectral symphony, finding strength in the face of haunting whispers. Remember, the line between the known and the unseen is as thin as a whisper. As you lay down to sleep tonight, remember our story, and may it serve as a beacon of courage against the unseen. We thank you for your companionship on this eerie journey. Join us next time when we unlock another tale from the darker corners of our world, here on our Scary Stories. Good night, and remember, the quietest whispers sometimes hold the loudest truths. This is our Scary Stories signing off for tonight.